Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. So today's a good day. Do you know why it's a good day? Well, since you asked, it's because it's a build day. Um, really looking forward to this Tamiya TD2. Main reason for that is it's going to be my kind of go-to two-wheel drive runner. So I'm going to keep all the electrics in this one, and I've got a lot of plans for it going forward for running content in the future. But that's for a separate video. There'll be quite a few videos with this car, but today's video is going to be the full chassis build with all the hop-ups I've got for it. So that'll fill a full video just in that. Second video will be the body set, because it's not going to look like this. It's not even going to have the same body shell as this. Then there's going to be a third video of an add-on to the body. And then hopefully the fourth video will get it toggling around for its maiden voyage. And then after that, it's going to be about making improvements to it. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love the TD4, but I didn't run it enough. I think I put 2 or 3 batteries through it. Then I took the electrics out of it and put it in the display. And I kind of kicked myself for doing that. I put a lot of work into that body shell and what have you. So yeah, not going to do nearly as much with this. It's going to look really badass. I hope it's going to look really badass with the plan I have for it, how I want it to look. But yeah, the proof's in the pudding with that one. But yeah, let's dribble. Let's crack this open and start building. Right, off we go. Looking forward to this one. So, as you can see, parts are out. Manuals look ready. Step 1 is there. Also dug the upgrades that I'm putting on it. But we'll go through them one by one as we start fitting them. So, yeah, let's crack on with stage 1. Right, stage one complete. Motor plate in, 2 bolts and 2 ball connectors in with the dust covers on. Let's move on. Right, moving on to stage 2, which is the spur gear assembly. So before I start and I use the kit parts, this is the first hop up we're going to use, which is the TD4 slipper clutch, which is universal for the TD2 as well. So we'll open this up and we'll build this to the instructions. Right, that's the slipper clutch arrangement made up, which is all part. You have to use 3 little spacers from the kit to make that up, and that's that gear made. So I'll see if I can sit this in, show you. That sits in like that. This one, have I got that the right way? Yes, I have. So that gives you a rough idea of how that sits in, although it's not bolted down so it moves, but you get the idea. Right, so moving back onto stage 3, where we're going to grease the gears up and put the gear cover on. Right, that's section 3 finished. So this full gear cover is bolted down. There's a ton of bolts. There's about 9 bolts that hold this down. And then when that's bolted down, you put the spur cover on with, that's got another 3 bolts. And you can see that's how you get into adjust your spur. There is a cap, but it's to cover that. But we'll leave that open for now. And then if you turn it, flip it round, you get the idea of, I don't want to touch the grease, but that's nice and free in there. So yeah, as I say, that's section 3 finished. So I'm just looking at the instructions on 4, which is a rear shock tower, wing mount, which we'll have to make a decision on, top, small or long, and a little bit of a sort of back bumper thing that holds a rear sway bar on. Right, that's stage 4 complete, and quite a lot happened there actually, but with it all being black, it's probably difficult to see. So the rear shock tower's on with the ball ends in place. The wing mounts are now on. Now I've opted for the short ones, same as I did on my TD4. I actually thought it needed the long ones on the TD4 to get the wing higher, but it didn't look that great. So because I want this car stealthy looking, short wing mounts, and the sway bar holder tops are on with the grub screws, and also the rear body mounts either side. So looking at the instructions now, we're going to 5, which is fitting a motor, and I haven't decided on a motor of choice yet, so let me go away and think what I'm going to use. Right, so I've decided to go for the 11 turn brush Tamiya super modified motor. It's not the motor of choice moving forward for this car, but I did put this motor in the TD4 for its couple of runs that it did. And it wasn't ballistic, but it was okay, obviously, on 2S. So the reason I'm saying this is I know how quick the TD4 was, but that didn't have the slipper clutch in. So that was using the standard spur and kit pinion, whatever that was. Now, obviously, when you go, or you may or may not know this, when you go to the upgraded slipper clutch, the spur gear becomes a 48 DP, so the 48 pitch. So you can't use a kit pinion. So I've got a Yeah Racing 21-2 48 pinion on this now, and this spur is a 79. I'm just curious now what the spur was on. Anyway, not that it matters. But I can't find any gear ratio charts at the moment. But it's not. That's not that important. And I've set the meshing up to something I'm happy with. So yeah, we've got just for peace of mind for me. So we're running a 79 to 48 spur with a 48 pinion, and it's a 21 tooth. And as I say, that feels great. So yeah, super modified for its first run out. And yeah, I mean, that's a suck it and see. We'll see how quick or not quick it is. We may then have to order a few different pinion sizes. And once I get my gearing sorted, then we'll go brushless with it. Okay, so on stage 5 where you'd fit the motor, you also make up the first 2 turnbuckles. You get nice turnbuckles in the kit with the nut on for adjustment, but just for bling purposes I've gone with blue ones. So if you're interested in the part number, that's it, and you will need 2 packs of those, obviously front and back. Now, moving on to stage 6 is to make the ball diff up. So I'm just going to show you this, the TD4 differential nut and screw set. The kit comes with a plastic nut, and some people have had problems with it, some people haven't. I actually ran the TD4 without initially, and it was fine. And then I got hold of some, and I ran it again. I think I had 2 batteries through it, but I didn't have any problems with a plastic one. Anyway, this upgrade obviously gives you the alloy nut, which is better for me because I want to nip this ball diff up as tight as I can. So it makes the slipper clutch do the work instead of the ball diff, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll put all that together now. Right, that's the ball diff built. Never my favourite part. Obviously I did it off camera because there's a lot of work involved. You can just about see the blue lock nut. I've put the spacers on. There's 2 spacers either side, shims, and then the bearings. So yeah, I tightened that up tight, and then I've taken it back about 1/4 of a turn, and that just makes that diff feel really nice now. When it was sort of fully locked up, it was just a little bit too tight. So as I say, I probably slackened it, the blue nut about 1/4 of a turn, and that feels pretty great, to be honest. And I wouldn't imagine that ball diff itself is going to be able to slip at that, so the slipper clutch will earn its money instead of the ball diff, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's cool. So moving on to stage 7, we've got to grease the diff up, put it in, and then there's a cover that's going to now go over the pinion and a couple of those like rear exhaust things. Right, let's get cracking. Right, let us progress. That's the gear cover on here. You got to put some foam on the inside of it. It's quite tricky, to be honest. Diff sat in, 2 total Tamiya style, 2 plastic exhausts on the back. Now that's stage 7 complete, but 8 is just putting this gearbox cover on, which clips on like that. Nice fit. So yeah, I've got to bolt that down, and then we move on to stage 9, which is the beginning of the rear arms. So I've just come to a stage where, because there's a lot of unknowns with this build for what I want to do to it. One of them is I want to use, big shout out to Owen at Revive RC, I want to fit his TD4 body shell onto this TD2 chassis. So it's obviously a lot narrower. The TD2 chassis side plates these are the TD4s. You get both in the kit because if you don't know, the TD4 battery runs down the centre, whereas the TD2 runs across, but it's made for like 7.2 racing pack. So I want to use these sides. I'm just sitting them on for now. So that fits there, and obviously that's my shorter. So I'm going to have to do some fancy dremeling. It's just, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I can tell by the looking at it, I can make this work. But before I start chipping anything away, that'll be the last job. I need to make sure the body set's going to look. First of all, it's going to fit this chassis, because another unknown is the body shell on the front of the TD2. I don't know if it differs, but yeah, don't know. We might have to. See, the problem is obviously your battery connections, your positive and negative, come up here, so these are in the way, which is a little bit of a problem. You can kind of offset the battery very slightly. Yeah, I am jumping the gun here, so I apologise for that, but it's quite important for the overall build that I'm doing. Get on. So that's how these fit, in case you didn't know. That's how they fit, and it's flush with the side. Interesting stuff. So yeah, anyway, we'll forgive me for going off subject slightly, but I guess you understand why. Anyway, the early indications are good with that. I can make that fit. Right, sorry, right, let's move on. So, bolted the underneath piece down. So that's basically that gearbox now finished. So, as I said, moving on to step 9, which is the rear arms. Right, and that is stage 10 complete. So, obviously, rear arms are on. There's a little plate here now. There's an upgrade here that replaces this plastic with alloy for your hinge pins. I'll probably order that because I don't have that hop up, and that's quite an important one. But anyway, for now we'll use plastic, and then we put the rear bumper guard on, which bolts down there as well. So that's basically that finished. Now, looking at the instructions, we're now moving on to build up the rear hubs, and in fact just complete the back end. So that's a different hop up because the kit is dog bone and we have UJs for it. So I'll build these UJs up. That's the part number, should you be interested. Again, TD4, it's the same. Yeah, right, I'll come back when that's all done. Right, UJ's built, hub's finished. It's just a ball end on it. One bearing in at the moment, nothing in at this end. But yeah, I've used these quite a lot, these UJs, super smooth. I got quite heavy on the grease at the beginning, and then I get it all round with my fingers with this, and then I wipe all the residue off, so there's hardly any sort of showing, but it's where it needs to be, if that makes sense. Right, looking at instructions, stage 12 is just to put all this together now. Right, that's up to stage 12 finished. So obviously the arms are on now, everything's nice and free. Because the unis are in, you can feel the diffs, and they do feel nice. Now, looking at instructions, going on to number 13 is to build the rear shocks up, but I'm going to do the shocks last because obviously we're not using kit ones, we're using these, and it's not going to be that straightforward, I don't think. But while I've got the back end of the car showing and it's kind of finished, I may as well fit the rear stabiliser. So this is again TD4 kit, and you get 2 pairs of front and rear sway bars, one soft, one hard, or maybe medium, I don't know. So I'm going to put the softest, whichever the softest is, I'm going to fit that. So I'll get this rear one on next. Right, that's the rear sway bar on. Gone with the softest, which is red, but yeah, you feel that you get the idea of what that does. So it's not, with it being so soft, I think it's a good place to start. We may, as we get into this car and we really start running it and get it on a track, Front rears, sway bars, they may come off. Don't know yet, but we will see. Anyway, it's on, so now it's on to the front end. Right, that's up to step 19. So I don't know what you call it, kick-up plate is on, just bolted with 2 bolts at the moment. Nothing else. Built the steering linkage up, 3 pieces. 3 pieces, and it's fully ball raced. So there's a pair in each of these arms, and then there's another 2 smaller bearings in there. Kind of wish I'd have got the hop-up steering, but I think at the time it was just too expensive. I didn't have the cash. I did put it on the TD4, and it looked it obviously looked nice, but it was very smooth and no play in it. But I've got to be honest, this looks good. So maybe we'll just use this until it breaks, if it breaks. And then I've made the left and right steering arms up. Again, not used the kit turnbuckles, which I'll just put over there. So this is the part number if you are copying this build, and again this pair is just for your steering arms. Right, looking at stage 19 is to fit all this in, and that's the steering on, and it's just sits on when you put, okay, that's not coming out, you put these metal pins in first on that front kick up guard, and then that just sits on, so it don't get bolted down straight away, but you get the idea of how that works. Really smooth as well, which you'd expect. Right, and then looks like now we're going to do this front assembly. We'll have to put some bits and bats on that, and then that's going to go on the front somewhere. Right, that's up to 20. Yeah, that's 20, stage 20 done. So this big plate's bolted on with 4 bolts now, so the steering's bolted down tight, and it's lovely and smooth. Now I have taken a bit of a flyer on these ball ends. They're supposed to go a little bit more forward, but as you know, I'm going to be lowering this car, and I think it was a shout out to Martin. I think I read when he was doing, he needed to lower his car because he's racing his. And one of the easiest things to do straight away is just move that ball end back. So may have to change that, don't know. So yeah, that's got a lot more strength now. That really clamps it all down. Looking at the instructions on to 21, we're now going to fit the pivots for the front suspension. Now this is another, I won't call it an upgrade, for me it's bling. I don't think there's anything wrong with the plastic arms. But yeah, that's the part number for the rocker arms, should you be interested. Right, let's get that fitted. Right, that's the pivots on. So that's how they work. So obviously the shock connects from here to here. So when this arm lifts up, it moves that, and the shock compresses like that. Right, this next bit's going to sound daft to you guys and girls, no doubt. But yeah, I'm not. The next stage is to actually bolt the front shocks in position, but I'm not doing that. I'm doing the shocks at the end. So I know I'm giving myself more work, but I'm going to carry on with the full build and build all the front end up, because the ride height of this one's really crucial to me, and I know when I did the TD4 it sits very high. That this is going to be no different, and I'm also probably going to be mixing bits and bats with the hop-up shocks and the kit shocks, maybe pistons, I don't know. So I'm just going to continue with build. So I'm skipping 22, 23, 24, and we'll jump onto the stage 25. Right, so since last came on, there's a brace gone across here, which is located on either side with those captive nuts we put on earlier. So that bolts down there and one screw from underneath. And then this section, and there's a little spacer section, bolts on. Not bolted at this end yet, but that gives it its extra strength. Front body mount and the ball ends. This now is going to get one bolt, which is going to bolt all that down. And I'm going to attach the oh my god, the turnbuckle arms to there, and that's that section finished. And then we move on to the front arms, so we are getting there now. Interestingly, as I said, don't know how much work I was giving myself to get back in here to redo the shocks, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. There's going to be, this end's going to have to come off, but it's only those 2 on captive nuts and 1 screw underneath, and this section just lifts out, and then I can get into the shocks. So depending what happens at this stage, it might not be too big a process. And to be honest, it's I think the car is. It's not designed as a track car, I know, but it's heading towards sort of a track car where they try to make it as easy as possible to get in and adjust things. So anyway, we'll see. Right, let's crack on. Right, so as you can see, front arm's on. Sliding pin goes through, and then it locates into this front bumper, and then 3 bolts underneath for the bumper, and that front end now is really solid. So next stage is to make the little pivot arms. So this rocker goes that position. So from this ball end to here, these 2 little arms to make. So when the arm moves up, it pushes a rocker, which then pushes a spring for shock. Right, let's crack on. Right, that's the front humps made. I was curious how these went together because it's a 12mm hex fitting for the front wheel. So yeah, it's just that spindle, 2 bearings, 2 different size bearings, and what else is there? And there's 2 spacer either side, different spacers, just body pin to stop it falling out. And then obviously you've got your, is it caster or something? I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, that's those built. So that's up to stage 30. 31 now is just putting that on the front end. And then I'm just sort of looking, 32 and 33 is the battery side and that like centre support unit. So I'll get all that done. And that's the front end done. And I really enjoyed putting that together because I built a TD4, I kind of knew the back end, but the front is completely new. So yeah, that was a joy to put that together. So what have I done? Obviously we've connected everything up. I put the steering, that's supposed to be an upgrade, the alloy servo stairs, should you be interested. That's the part number. But I will tell you, it doesn't cure, on the TD4 it doesn't cure it fully because there's a bit of give in the chassis. But TD2 is going to be different, so I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. And to be honest, I didn't find the TD4 that bad. Anyway, the arm's on, so that's the steering. Looks like we've got a ton of steering, which actually you would expect. And then obviously the movement of the arms and what have you. So I've put the centre brace on, but I've done it in the way, I've used nut and bolt, which is the way for the standard TD2, which should have wider battery size now to take like a 7.2 racing pack. So I'm going to be altering this, so I've just left the sides off to accommodate my shorty battery. That'll be done in the future, but there's no point putting that on just yet. And I've just realised I haven't put the front sway bar on, so we might as well put that together because I'm not too sure how that works. So we'll get that fitted, and then we are onto the shocks, to be honest. Now, if you look at that, it's got so much ride height. Now, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the TD4, and basically the arms are going to be straight. So it's going to be, the shocks will be the size to clip straight on in this position, and then the ride height will be the diameter of the tyre, if that makes sense. So yeah, I need to start messing around with that, and we'll do the rears first. But yeah, let's have a look at this front sway bar first. Right, that's the front sway bar on. That was a fair bit of a mission because I had to drop the bumper back off, put these long sway bar mounts on. Anyway, it's done, and it does what it's supposed to do. Again, gone with the softest option. It's funny as well because this is a bit of a mishmash of a car, the way I'm doing it. And I think the TD4 body, what I'm using, although it's not a kit body, it's a Revive RC body, is going to come quite far forward because I think the standard TD2 I would have had an issue with this. I might be wrong, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's yeah, that is the car finished now, apart from the shocks, and I'm stalling a little bit because it's a bit of a mission now. Because I'm not just going to build the full shocks up. That's what we're using. Yeah, I'm also going to be intrigued to see if the kit springs fit on these shocks look like they do, because those rears are very soft. The fronts, yeah, they're quite soft as well, because I always found these, because of a four-wheel drive, those fronts will be too stiff, so I'll probably use these, and if I do, I'll spray them white, because I like my white springs. So yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to have to use the kit shock pistons in these to get the right length, and then there's all the fixtures and fittings to make them fit. So I'll do most of this off camera, because it's going to be, as I always say, I suck it and see. But anyway, let's crack on. Right, so I'll just jump back on in between every time I have something what I think might be important. So this is just a standard upgraded shocks, but I thought I would just have a quick look and see what the piston sizes are. So on the right hand side, that's a kit pinion. That's way shorter. This is a rear kit piston, short. So I'll be using, just doing this so I don't mix them up. So I'll be using, I'll put these to the side. So these are the actual upgrade pistons for the shocks. Not using those. So we'll build them with the kit. Oh my goodness. I will build them with the kit shock pistons. There we go. Right, first attempt at the rears, and it's looking really good. Looking really good. So yeah, so I've used the kit shaft pistons. I did have to put a washer on top of this, because it was just moving up and down very slightly between the circlips. So I put the bottom circlip on, put this over, put a little wash spacer, and then second circlip, and that tightened that up. So I'm really happy with that. I built the shocks completely to the instructions, apart from obviously the piston shaft. Yeah, I'm really happy because lengthwise they're absolutely cock on. I'll just lift that camera up slightly so you can see the arms are dead straight, and that's awesome. So there's no oil in these shocks yet, but there's a ton of movement, as you can see, and even without any oil they feel great. Now I have gone for the three-hole piston. I may be changing this in the future, I don't know. I want this to be softer rather than harder to begin with. But yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon with that. That's worked out a treat. That was, and building the rear shocks to the upgraded shock instructions, you just put 4 black O-rings on the inside to space it out. So that works perfectly on this car. So yeah, all that rear needs now is take it back off, take the springs off, spray the springs white, fill them with oil, and put them back on, and that back end's done. Over the moon. Now we've probably got the tricky part, which is the fronts. So I'll do it off camera. Right, so that's the fronts on. Again, no oil in them. Now the only concern with the fronts I have, if there's enough movement, I'm not too sure. Need the wheels and tyres on next. But yeah, I mean the rear movement is plenty. But the fronts, but we don't, because they're inbound, they do work differently. And even low, that might not look a lot, but that is quite a lot of movement. Anyway, yeah, again, built standard apart from the piston. What I did do, if you remember the ball joint that goes into the chassis, I put it further back. I had to take them back out and move them forward, otherwise it would have been even less movement. Now there's a lot of things I can do with this to alter the movement, but as a first attempt, basically building them stock, that's worked a treat. Right, I'm going to dig the wheels and tyres out because we need that next. Right, interesting stuff. Ride height, I'd say it's about 20 mil, fully extended. But those springs are really weak, the kit springs. Now obviously I know there's no oil in them, but they are still pretty free. It's not like, anyway, point being that if you just watch that back end, see it? So it hasn't, the springs are not even strong enough without any shock adjustment to take the weight of the car. They're sinking slightly. Now of course we can adjust the shock body to give it more tension. But what I'm thinking now is, I'm thinking of using going back to the actual upgrade springs, because I think that's really soft, and the fronts haven't even got, again, no oiling, but if you bring it all the way down and let go, they haven't got enough strength to bring the car back up, which is quite interesting. So I think just for my peace of mind, I'm going to change these over just to see what they feel like. I can use these, no problem, but I'm going to have to adjust them, and I've got to get this kind of 90% right before I put the oil in. Otherwise it becomes very messy. Oh my god, I'm really enjoying this car. First, now I've got the wheels on, first time I get to feel a diff, and honestly, it feels gorgeous. It really does. And then the drive feels really, really smooth. Yeah, this is really coming together now. You can't see, but I've got a big smile on my face. Crazy steering on it. Really has got some serious angle to it. They're towing out a lot, probably more than they should be. But anyway, it's all about shocks at the moment. So yeah, I'm just going to change those springs over and just see what it feels like. Right, I'm happy with this. So I dug out, I did fit the upgraded shock springs on the front, but way too hard. They're meant for four-wheel drive. But I did remember I had a load of white springs, the TRF fronts, 201s. So I've got 3 different sets. Can't really see, that's red, black, and I've mixed these up, but there's another one. Anyway, I've gone for greens, so I had 3 different styles of them, and I put the green springs, well, the white, but the green tension, and as an added bonus, I don't have to paint those. I don't have to paint the back springs, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, again, no oil, but you see the back, you can see it damping, well, not damping, but you can see it working. It does bottom out quite easily, but tiny little bit of adjustment will sort that out. So they need painting. Fronts, this car doesn't bottom out. Well, it does actually, I tell a lie, but you've really got to force it. But you can see them working. You know, there's only the weight of the car, there's no battery. But yeah, that's working. They don't rebound back as quickly as the rears, but again, no oil. Oh, I'm excited. This is really good. This is really, really, really good. This was a lot less hassle than I anticipated. That's just going to be so much better when the oil's in. Loving it. Absolutely loving this thing now. Right, next stage is whiz those off, go paint them. In fact, whiz all 4 off, shocks off now, and get the oil in and get them painted. Right, that's the shocks finished. I can't emphasise enough how happy I am with them. I know I'm only messing around on a bench for now and the proof's in the pudding when you're running it, but I think I've got a decent-ish feel for how they should feel on the bench before, you know, to preempt a running. But yeah, so I painted the springs. I've done that before. If this is the first time you've seen me do it, I use PS paint. Obviously that allows them to move and not crack. They don't last forever white, but geez, when I did the full TTR2B front and back springs, that thing's done 3 or 4 running videos, and it's done about, I don't know, 300-400 laps on a track, and they're still white. So yeah, incredible. Yeah, that just looks awesome as well as a chassis. I love it, really do. So it just feels really smooth. It's probably going to be a tad soft with this setting once the battery and what else is a speedo and servo, but there's not much weight there. But yeah, I'll probably have to adjust the collars slightly. Fronts, yeah, God, it's smooth. There's just no weight on the front, 0 weight, as you can see. They are moving, but ever so slightly. But I wouldn't dare go any softer springs than that, because when you're running it, it's just going to dive all the time. This is still going to dive with these springs on, but anyway, that's almost perfect. I know there's no battery in, but what can I tell you? Oh, I put medium oil all around. The upgraded shocks come with a bottle of medium, but the kit comes with a hard, which kind of makes sense with our super soft springs. You know, I may well go back to it in the future, but we'll have to see. But right now, for me, that bad boy's ready to run. Yeah, everything just feels. It really does feel top notch. There's and I won't get into the big debate, but when the TD4 came out and everyone were bitching about its name, the Super Avanti, people missed the fact that it was a brand new chassis, the TD4, and it's completely different from anything else Tamiya have done. Completely different. It goes together superb, and I've run the TD4 and it runs superb. So it's the same with this. If the astute name's putting you off, just call it a TD2. The name doesn't matter. But the chassis is a little bit special, and I love this two-wheel drive front end. I really do. I'm over the moon with today's work on this. I really am. It's absolutely awesome. Well, that was awesome. Really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that way more than I expected to, which is odd. Just a great chassis to put together. Really good, and again, just because it had this really of a unique front end with it being two-wheel drive, and it goes together really nice. I've actually spent a lot more time on this build than I normally would have done, and that's because it's kind of going to be my go-to two-wheel drive runner. Every part I was doing, it's not that I cut corners on normal builds, but you know, if something's just going straight onto the shelf, you know, it kind of is what it is. I'll do everything, but there's not a great deal of thought goes into it. But with this, at every stage, I was always thinking, right, well, you know, with a view to actually these parts moving and stuff. So everything was greased correctly and all the tolerances. Anyway, it was just, I spent a lot of time on it, and I probably spent 2 hours just on the shocks alone, which I'm really happy about. If you wonder why I did that, it's because it's very rare that you can buy a set of Tamiya shocks, upgraded shocks, and just bolt them on the car and they're going to work. Because the universal, they're not made for individual cars. So, like these TTO2B DFO3 shocks, you could probably get away with sticking them on a four-wheel drive car, with it being a bit heavier, and they'll probably work, but the springs are quite hard. So yeah, that's why I really want it. I love the look of these, and these shocks are super smooth. But yeah, for me, you've got to put a little bit of work into them to get them right, because it's all well and good looking. It's all well and good looking good, isn't it? But if it don't work, or work how they should. Anyway, I'm sure this video's dragged on way too long. But yeah, leave in the comments what you thought. It's always massively appreciated, and I'll be back very soon with part 2 of this, where we're doing the custom body set. I'm actually going to start that video straight after this, because I'm really looking forward to seeing how this looks when it's finished. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Anyway, my friends, thank you as always for watching. It's honestly massively appreciated. If this is the first time you've come across one of my videos, if you give us a thumbs up, drop a comment, say hello, and hit that subscribe button. And if you do all that, you might as well turn the notifications on for our weekly videos. That would be awesome. Whew! And as always, my friends, happy arseeing.